Hi friends, welcome to my YouTube channel called IVD Manufacturing. Today I am going to discuss about the quality management system, which is abbreviated as QMS. This QMS is a part of one of the ISO standards, which is ISO 9001 and 2015. This entire session I am going to cover in a round of 10 lectures. So today I am going to discuss about the first lecture. Now, the topics which I am going to cover in today's lecture is what is QMS, significance, QMS Document Pyramid, and an introduction overview. What is QMS? QMS, which is ISO 9001-2015, it specifies the requirements for a quality management system where an organization needs to follow three important aspects. The first aspect, it needs to demonstrate its ability to consistently provide products and services that meet customer and applicable statutory and the regulatory requirements. Second, it aims to enhance the customer satisfaction through an effective application of the system. Third, addressing the risk and the opportunity associated with its context and the objectives. When it comes to the first point, whenever we are going to implement the QMS, by implementing QMS, it will demonstrate a particular organization that whatever the products or the services they are into it, whenever they are going to deliver to customer, all the services or the product will be complying the statutory and the regulatory requirement based on the product category or the services. Second, doing this, the customer will get a kind of satisfaction level because we will not be going to deliver any wrong defect product. It will be a good product which will be useful for the customer. The third is, whenever we are going to implement the QMS, we are going to record each and every process in a document. So doing this, what will happen? We are going to mitigate the risk even if somebody person is going to do a wrong procedure, that will be documented, which will be acting as an opportunity as a further improvement. So most of the persons say, what is this QMS? So QMS mostly have this kind of pyramid structure. The first one is a manual, followed by the procedure, the word instructions, record and documents. Manual is a series of policy statements for each of the elements of the ISO standards. Second, procedures. Procedure defines the policy in terms of who, what, where. Responsibility and actions are outlined. In the word instruction, it defines the specific steps to accomplish a particular task. Fourth one is the record and the document to show use of the system. So I'm going to give you one of the example correlating with the production department, since I am much more specialized in the production part. So let's say there is an X organization who is going to do the manufacturing of biochemistry reagents. So definitely the organization first of all is going to make a manual or the quality policy. This quality policy will define the requirements in context of this guideline. Once we fix the policy, now against this policy we are going to define the responsibility for each department, how they are going to implement this kind of guidelines which is there in the policy or the manual. So they are going to make the procedure. Once they develop the procedure, now in order to follow that procedure, we need to give some kind of word instruction in a particular domain. For example, there is a procedure for making the biochemistry reagent. We need to take out the nucleus fluid of double D water from the particular equipment. So we are going to give the word instruction to them. Once we give the word instruction to them, the operator or the production person is going to follow that instruction to accomplish the task. But during the process, he or she needs to record in a document, which is a basic requirement for the QMS, like for example the start time, the end time, the quantity of the water required, etc. This QMS or this ISO standards is been divided into two categories. The first one is the introduction. The second one is the content of ISO 9001-2015. When it comes to introduction, it has been subdivided into three parts. The first one is the general aspect. The second is a quality management principle. The third is the process approach. This process approach is subdivided into three segments, which is the general, the PDCA cycle, which is the most famous cycle which has been unknown across the world, which is called the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle, followed by the risk-based thinking. So in order to do a kind of approach in a particular process, we need to follow these two techniques, which is the PDCA cycle and the risk-based thinking. Now, what are things which we are going to cover in a 0.1 general? The adoption of a quality management system is a strategic decision for an organization that can help to improve its overall performance and provide a sound basis for sustainable development initiatives. It is an international standard which can be used by both the internal and the external party. So what do we mean by internal and external party? The internal parties are those representatives which is there within the organization. For example, production is one of the party for the QC. QC is one of the party for the QA. So this all interlinked department act as an internal party for all amongst themselves. What is the external party? An organization X is going to represent or is going to deliver a product to a Y customer, which this customer is going to act as an external party for this organization. Now, I hope this is clearly understood what do we mean by internal and external party. This international standards employs the process approach to meet the standard which incorporate the plan, do, check, act cycle and the risk-based thinking. The process approach enables an organization to plan its process and their interactions. The PDCA cycle enables the organization to ensure that its processes are adequately resourced and managed and that opportunities for the improvement are determined and acted upon. So in the process, the organization define each and every small things. So to implement this process, the company is going to follow the PDCA cycle approach, which you also need to think about the risk-based thinking. What is the risk-based thinking? This enables an organization to determine the factors that could cause its process and its quality management system to deviate from the planned result, to put in place a preventive control to minimize the negative effects and to make maximum use of opportunity as they arise. I hope now it's been almost clear. But we need to be very careful with four of the key terminology which will be used across the standards. Shall indicates a requirement which is mandatory to implement in a particular organization. Should represent a kind of recommendation from the ISO standards. May, it indicates a permission. Can, it indicates a possibility or a capability. So we need to be very clear about all this four terminology meaning when we are going to read the standards one by one. Now, what is this quality management principle? The quality management principle or whatever the principle which we are going to frame in terms of the quality needs to cover at least these 7 key points. The first is the customer focus. It should be a leadership, engagement of people, process approach, improvement, evidence-based decision making, relationship management. Third is the process approach. So guys, you can see this is the kind of process which has been represented by a schematic flow chart. Towards the left hand side is the source of input, followed by the inputs, the activities, output and the receiver of output. Okay. So in any other system, the system is being represented by an activity or a particular process. Let's say between input and output there is an activity. This activity is going to be conducted within the organization. Let's say this is going to be conducted within a particular department. Let's say production. So in order to deliver a biochemistry reagent which is protein biorate, it requires some kind of inputs, and based on input is going to deliver some kind of output. So during this chain of system, most of the processes are interlinked. What the input will come? Input will come the material, the energy, the informations. Okay. Activities, the operator will be deputed to do that activity. Some of the technical staff would be there, they must be following some kind of procedure, some kind of instruction. By doing all this, they are going to deliver some kind of output. But yes, when we are going to give some kind of input, this input must have some kind of source. Okay. And whatever the output which will be there at the end, we are going to get as an output. So this is the entire process which within the system acts upon. Now comes the PDCA cycle. The PDCA cycle can be briefly described as follows. Plan. Establish the objectives of the system and its process and the resources needs to deliver the result in accordance with the customer, the requirements and the organization policy, and identify and address the risk and opportunities. Once we plan it, we need to do. So do means implement what was planned. Check. Whatever we are doing, we need to check at a basis of certain guidelines or some checkpoints, which is check means the monitor and measure the process and the resulting products and services against the policies, objectives, requirements and plan activity and report the result. Act. Act means take action to improve performance as necessary. So whenever we are going to do some kind of things, we are going to check. On basis of check, we will come to know whether we really want to improve that process or not. If yes, we are going to again act upon that, and again it will be moved in a cyclic direction. Act, plan, do, check. Act, plan, do, check, like this way. So you can see this is a diagram. So each block is representing the standard coming from the ISO 9001-2015. So when it's come to the plan, do, check, act cycle, you can see in a diagram quality management system is on the top, which is in brackets mentioned 4. So this QMS 4 means it is coming from the 4th clause of the ISO 9001-2015. So as a QMS, against the 4th clause, there are few important points which as per this it is covering our entire process. So in planning it requires points from the clause number 6 of ISO 9001-2015. Similarly, it requires for the remaining things. So once we are going to touch the standards in the upcoming stand, then it will be clear for you guys. Now, what is the risk-based thinking? So whenever we are going to make a kind of process or the procedure, we need to think in terms of the risk aspect. Are we going to get a defective product in the end, or are we going to get a good product? Or how we will going to achieve our aim? So we need to do the risk-based thinking, which is essential for achieving an effective QMS system. The concept of risk-based thinking has been implemented in its previous edition of the international standard including. Okay. For example, carrying out the preventive action to eliminate the potential non-conformities, analyzing any non-conformity that do occur, and taking actions to prevent recurrence that is appropriate for the effects of the non-conformity. To confirm the requirement of these international standards, an organization needs to plan and implement actions to address the risk and opportunities. Addressing both risk and opportunity establishes a basis for increasing the effectiveness of the quality management system, achieving improved results and preventing negative effects. I hope this is clear. Thank you. Please like, subscribe, comment and share my channel IVD Manufacturing. Stay in touch.